What's up, you beautiful humans? I'm Regina T, and welcome to my favorite mods. So, I use a lot of mods throughout gameplay, as some of you I'm sure have seen if you've watched any of the Let's Play videos. And with using mods, I use them mostly for cosmetic things, but there are a couple in there that make gameplay just a little bit easier on me. Um, so, I hope you enjoy. Here are my top 10 mods that I use on all of my saves. First up at number 10 is the Efficiency Checker mod by Mauricio Hauser. This mod helps you double check your load balancing and make sure that everything is working appropriately. However, at the very, very top of the mod page, there is a warning that refined power and other mods with custom machines that don't implement attachments like the splitters or mergers, they're not going to work. I've only ran into this when it comes to actually using this mod on belts. So it does actually show what's going through it, but I haven't really been able to get it to work to actually show how much is needed, how much is actually, going into it, all of that. It just shows me what's actually on the belt. So when you open up the actual control panel and start looking for it, it's under ECM. It unlocks relatively fast, so it should be there. There's two different versions. So the first is conveyors, and it has the wall option and then two for the actual belts themselves. One has the panel on the side, the other one has the panel on the top. And I usually just use the panel that's on the side since I do a lot of walking directly next to things, especially when I have stacked belts. But if you have walkways going above your belting, then the one that's facing upright would work the best. And as you can see with mine, it's not going to show anything, but you can actually go up to them and hit reset input or update it, and it will actually recalibrate itself and give you the information. The one in the wall will not work with the wall conveyor mod, but it does work with regular conveyor holes in any of the other building wall types, whether you're using structural solutions or just the vanilla version. Again, because I use refined power, the belt one doesn't quite work well for me. It's super easy to place. You can place it on belts that already exist, and that makes it really, really easy. Calculating can take a hot minute, so just keep that in mind. The other portion of the mod has to do with piping, and this one I've actually gotten to work appropriately. I'm not sure why this one works better than the belt one, but for me, water or any of the stuff that goes through pipes is kind of hard for me to calculate. Not sure why. My brain tends to go a little fuzzy. So you have a couple of different options. You have one that's a wall one that's facing upright and a wall one that faces down. I don't use the one that faces down unless I have something super tall going through a wall because it's really hard to see. But again, you just connect it on there and it can be placed on a pipeline that's already existing or a wall hole that's already existing. Now, the wall one does it makes its own wall hole. So that's awesome as well. And I have this pipeline set up so it's actually splitting and doing some weird things. But as you can see, it's reading just fine. There's 1200 input. I'm actually running 600 and I'm only actually required to have 100 because I have a refinery at the far end. So if I had multiple refineries, this would be able to tell me if I'm too far or too low with how much pressure is actually in that pipeline. So this mod works really, really well, and I intend on still using it. It makes it so much easier to load balance. And at number 9 of my most used mods is the More Swatches mod. Overall, I absolutely love this since I do a lot of painting. So all this actually does is adds more swatches to the customization menu. And as many of us know, having all of those extra options does come in handy. So flipping through it, it looks exactly like the normal swatches. You just have an additional, I believe, 11 or 12 And you can change things out just like you normally would and adjust the different colors, load presets, which I love that they added that. Oh, it makes it so much easier. And I play around with swatches all the time. You can also right click if you didn't know that and actually engage that on certain things, and it will automatically be put on there. Now, the More Swatches mod is found in the Awesome Sync store or the Awesome Shop, and it is under the customizer option. Why I flipped through this organization. Oh my goodness. It's under the customization tab all the way at the bottom and costs a singular ticket, which is also amazing. At number 8, it's actually a 2-for-1. So both the item dispenser and item hopper mods, both made by Blog Master Avery, I think is how you say that. I'm not really sure. So both of the mods themselves work kind of in tandem, or rather I use them in tandem. The item dispenser mod has the regular dispenser, a mini dispenser, and then the industrial dispenser, and they each have little signs on them that show what they're actually throwing out. In the hopper mods, on the other hand, you need to make some adjustments to those in order to use them. Everything for this mod is located in the organization panel under storage, and they show up right at the top, so it makes it really easy to find them. They don't cost a whole lot, but when you get into the hoppers or the industrial stuff, it gets a little pricey with the steel. So just looking at them, they make for a really clean look. I love the screens on them. They make it so easy to use and know exactly what's being spit out and make my storage rooms look extremely neat. Now, the item hoppers I only use every so often. You can select items that are very specific as to what's going in it. But I generally don't do that. I just throw things in them and then allow splitters or mergers to actually sort things down the line. Now, this mini hopper for some reason was acting up when I shot this video, so go figure. But everything else, you throw it in there, it moves down the line, it goes into a storage bin. It's very, very straightforward. It's not all that complex to actually figure out. I have changed things a couple of times. So as you can see here, I put actual snow. So I know that hopper is actually going to go into the snow bin. That's where it's supposed to go. Very easy to change those out. And I believe I have the doggo crates and stuff set up on this. Because I have FICSIT farming set up in this test world. So you can see that. This one, again, I don't know what's going on with the mini hopper. It is broken. I broke it. So, but the industrial one works just fine. Now, with the dispensers, on the other hand, these are only going to read what's coming into the dispenser. So I'm going to throw some rods in here and let them pop through. This will just take a second and they'll show up on the other end. Very, very straightforward, very clean. And if something changes and you have something weird that happens, it'll actually update that front screen as to what's sitting there in the bin. Because there's a couple of objects that, they look really similar or really difficult to actually read. And instead of needing separate signs and weird things, you can actually just see automatically what's being spit out of that container. And I use these quite often. So if you like this mod, download it and show some support to the mod maker. And at number 7 is the Structural Solutions mod. And I use this a lot, like a lot. I love the cosmetics that are included in this mod, whether it be the glass, the concrete, the fencing. It all looks just amazing when you put it in. Now, I wish it was paintable. That is something that I'm hoping maybe they'll update since update 5 added that customizer. I use it so much. There's a couple weird things when it comes to the beams. As you can see in some of the pictures, they are just massive. But within the actual organization charts, there's 4 different sections. You have the concrete, the beams, the regular glass stuff, and then the fencing type items. and I didn't actually filter through this. So there is just an insane amount. You can do curved walls, you can do angled walls, you could, you name it, you can do it with these. They're all set up. They do work with Micromanager, and I believe it's actually recommended to use them with the Micromanager. They're also compatible with the Smart Mod, which is fantastic because I used that as well. There's just so much in all of these that it's there's too much to actually list. They did an amazing job with all the detailing. The concrete looks like actual concrete. The steel looks like steel, minus the fact that it's yellow. And hopefully with update 5 there was a lot more changes to it. I haven't played with it a whole lot since update 5. But as you can see, scroll down and you have all these different options. I use the fencing a lot for a more industrial kind of segmented feel for my mining operations. And if you watch the Let's Play that's coming up this upcoming week, I actually set that up and show you kind of how I deal with that when I'm designing around the mining. So with the concrete stuff, there is some new additions that came with update 5, but not a whole lot. It's the same mod that it's always been. But it just looks so amazing. So amazing. And I just laid out a couple of things. Do keep in mind that those beam sections are just huge. They're huge. I use the glass floors a lot as well. And then there's all these automatic doors, which was something that everybody asked for like ever. And these have been with this mod since I think update 4, possibly update 3, whenever this thing came out. So it works really well. As you can see, all the fencing options, that wired gate actually automatically opens. And as we kind of take a look at it, there's bollards, the light flickering, you got to be careful because you can accidentally adjust the color. And then just walking through each of the automatic doors, they work really well. And I love the industrial look of these because they're industrial doors. I mean, they're roll-up doors. So I wish the sun wasn't in the spot that it was when I, was doing this, but can't really choose that. So we just kind of walk through, and then this random one, which you can install on any openings throughout the game, very similar to the new auto gate that also came with update 5. The different glass options, lots of glass options. The diagonal walls I haven't played with a whole lot, but these curves and the arches, I've made several. I believe it was the update 4 world that actually had the really big arched ceiling. But these beams are just, oh my God, they're so big. They're almost too big. That's a big change that I wish that they would make, is just make them a little smaller, but it's really hard to do when you're running, stuff through it. And as you can tell, they take up an entire set of platforms. So you would probably go 3 wide or even 4 wide to make that work. And at number 6 is the Power Control Room mod. I use this mod so stinking often. It's absolutely ridiculous. But I only actually use a couple of different pieces for this particular mod. It's located underneath of the power options in the main control panel. And you can see there's so much to it. There's just an insane amount between power switches and emergency batteries, which do look a little weird. I wish they'd update that. The power switch themselves, I use a lot for power rooms. The giant telephone pole is something that I've done through a couple of builds just to play with. It has a bunch of different connectors. I think there's like 10 or 12 on there. But you do need to be careful when you're using it. There, as you can see, there's a couple on the edges, on the top, on the far sides, and I believe there's some in the middle as well. And some of those have to be interconnected. These 2 panels are ones that I use a lot. They make actually doing switches insanely easy. I do wish we could change the front name though. That is something hopefully maybe we'll get updated at some point. I tend to use the one that is the 1x12 rather than the 12x12. It just makes life that much easier on me because it's 1 power input. Now, with these telephone poles, it's really easy. You connect your power source, like I did a wind turbine here, you go up to it and it'll give you all the information right there in front of you. And you can even rename these, which is great. So if you have incoming power from just a singular source or a singular type of source, you can rename that power pole and voila, you know exactly what it is and what it goes to and where it came from. Um, you can do the same with, connecting into machinery or anything like that. I was messing around here to try and figure out, can I make it look like the power is actually on way on that far side? But it didn't quite do what I needed it to do. And the bottom one there where it says left is how much power is left in that grid that could be used. Same thing for this one. And then there is the wireless power, which I don't use. I'm not a big fan of it. I don't know. It's just not my type of thing, but you can rename these things. And I love the fact that those can be renamed. Like I said, I wish the other one could, and that front panel wouldn't just read 1 by 12 or 12 by 12. That would be a fantastic option. These power switches and things are also options to use. And then the belt stop and start, you can adjust those and make those work for whatever you need it for. But overall, this is an amazing mod. So the next mod up is the empty hands mod. And, I'm kind of glad that I found this one. It was driving me crazy to have to swap between things, and I constantly had things popped up because there isn't one that's right there. It's very easy to make. It's in the building or equipment workshop utility. You add it to your hand hotbar and away you go. Like it honestly couldn't be any simpler to use. And as you can see, you scroll through, use the scroll wheel on the mouse, and once you get to the empty hands, there's nothing in your hand, and it's awesome. Next up is one of my favorite mods. Definitely, I'm so glad that they brought this back, and it is from the same guys that did the Refined Power mod. So you know it's going to be simple to use and easy to put together. And there's a Doggo House. So no more making fake Doggo Houses, kiddits. There's the 3 levels of the actual planter bases, and you put your crop pad, your tree pad, or I think your vegetable pad, whatever it's called, in there. There's hydroponics, the actual extractor, and then the greenhouse to make things grow. And of course, the dog house. And this thing is designed so super cute. I'm so glad that they did this. Oh my goodness. I enjoy collecting doggos, and this thing makes it very easy to keep them alive with watering, their food source, and, just overall enrichment with their tires. And you can open these doors, you can close these doors. Very, very easy to use. So one of the things that you do have to have, though, as I slowly fly over to my equipment bench, is in order to collect doggos, you need a doggo crate. So you just make a doggo crate. I've made 2, and you put them in your hand hotbar. Now, with the other components before we deal with the doggos is the seed extractor. It just takes all these pieces and makes seeds. So throw stuff in there, it'll spit some seeds out for you, and then you can make things with them. And quite frankly, it can't really get simpler than that. Then you have the composter that just brings in materials and then spits out some of this very gross looking brown liquid at the end. And I believe that can be packaged and reused within the actual things. And then you have cooking. So you can make different foods. Dog chow is going to be one of the big ones. If you plan on using the Doggo House, you're going to need to make the doggo chow. Now, I do bloop some of these pieces in later, but overall, super simple to use. Now, picking up a doggo is not so simple. So I stopped flying here, and Mr. Doggo is backing away from me. And pat, pat, pat. Yes, yes, yes. You are now mine. He is now my friendy friend. And you just put the crate, as I mess this up, put it in your hand hotbar, not on your regular hotbar. Oh, he's so cute. I just want to cuddle him. Yep. So throw that on your hands. and then bring up that option and click over top of him, and boom, he's gone. Pick up the food and fly home. So with the Doggo House, you do need to set up water. You got to give them food. And then you can also befriend all of the doggos that get put in there because they should start breeding new doggos. If I understood it correctly, at least. So you might need to befriend them every so often. But this is a little confusing on getting it set up. As you can see, I was kind of messing with it to try and figure it out. So you're going to need power, you need water, and you need dog chow. Once all of that is set up, I'm going to spawn in or bloop in some dog chow real fast because that's a necessity. And I'm doing that using the pack utility mod and throw that in there. So throw this in and that in. Nope. Okay. Only one stack. And then throw the doggo in the crate. Both my crates. No, none of my crates. And click the button. So now he's in there. Mr. Fred is in his house. Now, where'd he go? Oh, there he is. Yep. And of course, this is during Christmas, so he looks like a funny reindeer. But you can fly around, you can see it. There's inputs and all kinds of different things. And the water will continue to kind of fluctuate as he uses it, but you don't need to necessarily stand there. Open the doors, and now he can also go outside. And he'll actually run over here and say hello. I'm going to walk up to him and say hi. Tap, tap, tap. Yes, yes. He's such a nice boy. Such all of the nice boys. And as we fly outside, he's going to follow us. And if you watch when we go over top of the fence, he can't get out. It's perfect. So he'll sit there and he's going to bark at you. And the output should be any waste. The crates themselves, once they're emptied, will pop out of there. So super, super easy to use. And once you get the hang of actually collecting the doggos, it's pretty straightforward. Like it can't be any easier. He keeps running over to me. I believe you can also throw them into a crate and re-release them, but I'm probably never going to do that. They're mine now. The doggos must stay. And he looks absolutely adorable. So when you fly away, they kind of just sit in that corner and hang out there. So it's great. And at number 3 is the RSS mod. And this is just signs. Really simple signs. Just like it says. It has an insane amount. I've been using it since update 4. And they've added some new functionality to it with update 5 that I think works out really, really well. It might have been there the whole time, but I don't think so. I think everything was combined. So you have the hollow signs, the regular signs, or you can do the no filter, which gives you both in one view, which is how it used to look before update 5. I like the fact that they added that functionality to go along with the customizer, and the signs themselves always look good. I mean, when don't they? So the hollow signs are something that I personally use quite a lot. I like being able to see through it. And then you have your wall signs, your drone signs, which just kind of float in the air, more wall signs that are flat on the wall, and then the things for pipelines and belts. And I do use those quite a bit. And this one on this pole is one of my favorites. My goodness, I can't get over this one. It spins by itself. You do have to tweak it a little bit. It can get a little bit funky. With the vehicles, the trains, the containers, things like that, you do need the sign gun. So that is something that you will need to have equipped in your hand in order to make it work. And bloop, there it is. So you just aim at it and, I broke something. Oh, there we go. Just add the template, hit save, boom, done. Super, super easy. They make everything very, very straightforward, and their signs always look amazing. I've never had a single complaint when I've been using it, and being able to add these templates, having more functionality, I think is way better since the standard signs really don't have this and can get a little clunky when you're trying to do things. At number two is the Pack Utility mod, which I've had installed for quite a long time. I do very much enjoy this mod. It makes my life very easy when I'm, messing around in creative or going to shoot shots when I get done. So all you have to do is go into the chat bar by hitting enter. You can give yourself items if you so choose. Um, but if you make an error, it will give you a item doesn't exist kind of coding that, I think is really helpful. So you have to pay attention to how you actually type things in. No item found. Go figure. But if you type it in correctly, put the right amount, ta-da, it's there. You can also fly with it. So flying gets it can get a little bit weird. But once you get used to it, spacebar is up, C is down, and you can also type in the exclamation point and then a page number, and it will give you the help options. So I've had to use that in the past because remembering all of the commands and what they all do, sometimes I forget. So extremely easy. And last but definitely not least, and no surprise, is the Refined Power mod found under the Refined Power option in your main panel. There is so many options building the generators, which produce an insane amount of power. Everything about this mod is amazing. I love it, and I will never, ever get rid of it. The wind turbine out of tier 1 makes life really easy, although there have been some adjustments, so keep that in mind. But I'm pretty sure no one is surprised that Refined Power would come in at number 1 of my favorite mod that I use. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope that this was actually really helpful for you. I know it's a little bit crazy when you start getting into mods, especially for, well, really any game, that there's so many different options, and there is an insane, absolutely insane amount of mods for Satisfactory, but these are just my 10 that I use all of the time. Occasionally I will turn them off, but keep an eye out for future videos. There will be one probably in the next coming weeks that goes over the decoration mods that I plan to use on our current playthrough. So I will catch you guys on the next one, and remember, stay salty.